Hey, Eugene here, and I'm here to share some data on a home builder campaign in Australia. We run quite a lot of tradie campaigns, so a lot of data to share. So in early 2020, we had a home builder contact us. They were struggling to get inquiries, they were struggling to get leads. In the first 26 months, we delivered 809 leads from SEO and a further 108 leads from Google Ads. That makes for about 35 leads a month over that period. Now, over those 26 months, we took the website from 10 visitors a month to 1,747 visitors a month. Now, this was already an established business. Like many others, were struggling to get leads, inquiries, and actually just struggling to get anything out of their website. They've been in the industry for about 15 years, and these guys specialized in dual occupancy builds, and they generally target wealthy suburbs, wealthy Bayside suburbs. Like many others, they've had a website for some years and they're getting absolutely nothing out of it. They've had a whole bunch of different agencies offer a whole bunch of different digital marketing strategies, whether it's Facebook ads, Google ads, SEO. Nothing seemed to stick. No one really took over and just drove the ship for them. In fact, at the time, there was already an agency looking after them, running an SEO campaign. The campaign was already further than 12 months and there was absolutely no movement on the organic traffic. Generally speaking, when you run an SEO campaign, SEO is doing something to the website to get it to show up high on Google. So when you do something to the website, you should begin showing up high on Google, and Google should send you more visitors and more traffic. And we looked at the historic traffic graphs, and there were no movements, there were no keywords that were progressing upwards, and it was already over a year that this SEO campaign was running. At the time, the website was receiving less than 10 visitors a month, and there was no real lead tracking set up, there was no conversion tracking set up, and they were essentially just driving blind. There were meaningless tasks done, a little bit of social media posting, there was updating some of the images on the website, but there was no real sort of done for you campaign. No one was really driving the ship. They felt that most of their inquiries came from word of mouth. So this builder built really beautiful homes. They concentrated mostly on dual occupancy builds. They're sort of their bread and butter. That's what they specialized in. That's what they're best in. That's the business that they wanted to receive more on. And early wins with this campaign was this builder took his visuals very seriously. So every beautiful build that went up, they would hire a professional photographer and actually take some really good shots for the builder's marketing. It's just nothing was really done with that. It was loaded onto the website, hidden away in projects, and it was little images and things like that. So when I saw that, I saw the opportunity that we have because, hey, your proof of work and all the beautiful builds that you've done is here. So you're looking to target people in wealthy Bayside areas. You've got this track record of amazing builds that you've built in those Bayside areas. If we just put that together and get some Bayside eyeballs on that page, on that asset, you're going to get inquiries. And I say that because we've got a lot of tradie campaigns that come to us. We've got other builders that we work with, and some builders we actually had to pause working with them because we need to show a proof of work. Asking us to log into realestate.com and download previous builds that you've done, there wasn't enough media that we could get from it. So if you're in a space where you perform a task or service that is visual, like there's a before and an after. There's the weeds are really tall, and then the lawn is looking amazing. Make sure you capture that. Make sure you record a before and after video, because that then becomes your marketing asset. That the moment someone's eyeballs land on that, they're more likely to inquire. So an example of builders in the past where we had to pause the campaign, where the Google ads had failed, even the SEO had failed. We managed to get the rankings, but you get the traffic, but the traffic didn't equate to inquiries because there was not enough conversion elements on that site. There were not enough Google reviews, there were not enough images, there were no videos, there was nothing to really sell and convert that visitor. So they're the campaigns that we paused ourselves because after X amount of months there was no movement or engagement from that particular client to actually get us the material that we need to help the business succeed. So back to this campaign. So what did we do? This campaign, we started engaging with this builder in early 2020. It took a while to build a relationship, and the first thing that we did, I remember they were quite reluctant, is we fired up a Google ad. And they were reluctant because in the past they've tried Google ads themselves, they've had various agencies that tried Google ads, and the Google ad just, for some reason, didn't perform. Whether it was, most Google ads that I see don't perform because they're not executed correctly. So to get a bit of trust and momentum, we fired up a dedicated sales landing page. So we can call it a funnel page, a landing page. And at the time, there was another agency working on the website, so we didn't want to touch the website. We installed a tool called ClickFunnels. These days, I'm not a big fan of that tool. It's not the prettiest of interfaces, but it was enough at the time, so we're talking a couple of years ago, to get a landing page up. And what do we put on that landing page? Here is a builder that's looking to find people living in Bayside, in wealthy suburbs, people who are looking to build a dual occupancy home. So what did we do? We created a page which displayed all of their, at the time, I think there were 5 or 6 or maybe 7 dual occupancy projects completed that they captured. The photos were beautiful. So we created this beautiful grid of projects completed. These are dual occupancy builds in Bayside. So if we're going to get the traffic, if someone's Googling dual occupancy builder, Bayside, or any of those suburbs, we're paying for that visitor. We're talking about Google Ads here, and we're sending them to the landing page. And what are they seeing there? They're seeing a track record of Bayside builds, from dual occupancy builds. Towards the end, we showed the rest of the builds, the beautiful homes that they've built, to create more experience. We also loaded up all of the reviews that they had. They didn't have too many reviews at the time. They're sitting on 40 or 50 reviews at the moment, which is a healthy amount. You really need more than 20. So at the time, we loaded whatever reviews they had onto the landing page, and we fired up that Google ad. We only targeted the suburbs that we wanted. We only targeted the keywords that we wanted. So we did not bid for luxury home builder keywords. We didn't even build for custom home builder keywords. This campaign was all about dual lock. So things like duplex builders and dual occupancy builders. So we start with less keywords and see how it performs. And it performed really well. It performed at $25 per a lead. And the warning here is that is an incredibly low cost per lead. So if I'm ever to set expectations with anybody else, I'm going to be saying it's about $100 per lead. The reason this was so successful is this builder presented me with all of these beautiful case studies, proof of work on the keyword in the suburbs. So those addresses were in Bayside. So anybody in these suburbs recognizes, right, I know the suburb that's around the corner from me. So this builder is now more trustworthy. That increases the chance of inquiries. That means that the cost per inquiry is less. They're more likely to inquire after they've landed on something more trustworthy. Hopefully that makes sense. So at the time, we were slowly building the relationship with the client. We fired up a Google ad with a dedicated landing page on their old website. In the meantime, we do what we always do. We always start with analysis, industry analysis. Now, at the time, I had already built and ranked a few websites in the building and construction space. We've got a lot of clients in the trade space, but it doesn't matter who the client is, what industry, we always deep dive into analysis. We had a look at keyword volumes. In other words, how many times a month does a certain keyword get entered into Google? We discovered that in New South Wales, in Sydney, people search for duplex builder, whereas in Melbourne, Victoria, that term is dual occupancy builder. Now, we looked at other key terms, luxury construction, custom homes, and all of the supporting key terms, such as townhouse builders, apartment builders, and we presented all this data to the client because it's really important that the client knows that I call it the chunk of the pie. So how many times a month do your services get Googled? Then we had a look at who currently ranks in that space, who currently shows up and is eating that pie. So we looked at what people are Googling, what people are searching. We looked at who is currently showing up for those terms. And that helps me understand how strong and how competitive this space is. That helps me understand which websites we need to overtake. Some websites we're just not going to overtake, the likes of Metricon Homes with thousands of pages. There's a whole bunch of other big boy builders with big boy websites. So we have to be realistic that we're not going to rank for Home Builder Sydney, Home Builder Brisbane, Home Builder Perth, or Melbourne anytime soon. What we will have a chance to rank sooner is going after key terms with maybe less search volume, but more buying intent and more geo-relevant. So when someone is looking to build a home in the beachy suburbs of Sydney, they will choose someone who has a track record of dealing with the beachy suburbs of Sydney and dealing with their councils, right? So if they're looking for construction of home in Bondi and they land on a page where it's a Bondi builder with a track record of Bondi builds, with a track record of dealing with the local council, guess what? That builder is going to get more inquiries than someone from a different suburb who's just trying to show up in those key terms. So you'll be able to run the ad and show up, but less chances of conversions. So that cost per lead will be higher. So back to what we did, like always, we analyzed the industry. We check for keyword volumes, so to identify what key terms we want to go after. We checked out who currently gets that traffic, in other words, who ranks at the top of Google. What kind of traffic do those websites get? How big is their website? How many pages do they have? How many blogs they have? How many backlinks do they have? Because that's where deconstructing the cost of entry to market to rank in that space. Because our website needs to be above theirs, which means we must do something that overtakes them. We must do something better than them. An easy way to explain it is we need more backlinks, we need more blogs, we need better high quality pages, and those pages better have some engaging media on them to convert that visitor, to make that visitor stay longer on the page. We also have a look at social media. We also have a look at their digital asset. So do they have a vertical video creation machine? Are they creating reels? Because that's the place to be right now. There's a lot of exposure, a lot of free exposure that these TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube Short, they're all fighting amongst each other to be the platform to use. And that big war is getting the small business more exposure, because if you create that vertical video and you syndicate it onto YouTube Shorts, onto Instagram, onto Facebook, as a reel, as a 60-second reel or less, you will get new eyeballs onto your brand. So these are external eyeballs, whereas in the past, it was only somebody that followed your Facebook account or followed your Instagram account that will see that post go up. And even then, you probably had to boost and pay money to get that visibility. So do the competitors have a social media account that is constantly being loaded up with brand content? Because these are the sorts of things that not only Google looks at and Google judges, but users. That potential client may click on your social media profile and they might skim, how active is this account? If it's only had one post in the last 3 years, they're going to back out. And it's not so much that they're going to be turned off by it. It's just that if they land on a builder with an active Instagram account, they're posting meaningful content, there's a new build that goes out the door once a month or once every 2 months, they begin to slowly build a relationship with your brand from your digital asset. So we deconstruct all this. We take this into account when we do analysis. We look at keyword volumes, we look at competitors, we look at their social media. That allows us to understand what is the cost of entry to market. So what is it that we need to do to overtake them? We also look at many other technical factors. Some brands may have more than one website. I know that I build lots of websites myself. So some of my client campaigns, you have the client website, but you also have my supporting websites, whether they're directory listicle posts listing the top 10 and they're listing my client at the top, or they're just my own sites where I build Sydney Builder or Perth Builder.com.au. And I do that for a whole bunch of spaces. And that stuff can be found out pretty quickly. I'm not the only one that does that. A lot of people do that. We also look at worldwide campaigns. So we look at the best builders in Canada, UK, America. We try to get an understanding of the current trends around the world. If we're to build a new website, we want it to be the best that it can be. So we need to be updating ourselves with new trends, aesthetic styles, and things like that. It's also good to get an understanding of how Google makes decisions in other countries as well. So we put a plan together for this particular builder, which involves local SEO, organic SEO. So local SEO showing up on Google Maps. So if you're typing in builder near me or builder, generally you're going to get the results that are closest to you, right? So there are things that you can do to a website to make that website show up locally. So that's called local SEO. Then we also planned out organic SEO. Organic is basically showing up in the standard listings, in the standard results. So local is usually at the top with Google Maps, the 3-pack of maps. Then you have organic SEO. And look, it was a no-brainer to turn on a Google ad for this campaign. For builders, we found that Google Ads performs much better than Facebook ads. Not to say that Facebook ads won't work. If I was given a limited budget, I would put that into Google Ads over Facebook ads any day for this particular industry, for this particular niche. The reason for that is Google Ads is a form of reactive marketing, meaning somebody's Googling for that particular term, they're looking for that builder in that suburb, they're looking for that dual occupancy builder. A Google ad means we can pay for that click and then drive that visitor to our website, to our sales page to prove that we're trustworthy. Whereas with Facebook ads, that's a form of what I call intrusive marketing. So we don't know that person sitting on their phone is in need of a builder. Okay, so they're sitting on the couch, they're watching the footy, there's an ad on TV, they begin swiping and they see an ad, our ad, showing beautiful homes. Sure, they're beautiful homes, but if I'm not interested in building right now, I'm going to swipe past that. I might click and have a look and I might remember the brand. So it's not totally wasted, just if we're looking for leads and acquiring business, you choose Google Ads. Now we are actually firing up a Facebook campaign for this builder. However, this Facebook campaign falls more under brand awareness and brand exposure. So that recent build that we've just completed, we're creating vertical videos out of it. We're creating a nice slideshow with music. So we're using images, we're filming content, we're posting it up on socials, and we're doing a small boost, maybe $50, maybe $100, just in that suburb. Now, that's building on the brand. So if it's leads we're after, I'll turn on a Google ad first before a Facebook ad. If it's brand growth and brand exposure that you're after, I would, as a secondary option, turn on the Facebook ads, and that just generally grows the brand, and in the long run, helps the builder raise his prices. Brand growth works in slightly different ways. Local SEO, organic SEO, Google Ads with a dedicated landing page, which I mentioned, and vertical reel creation that is a must for businesses like this. So we fired up the Google ad already. Now at this stage, the website was still with the old SEO agency. We didn't have any admin access to it. So we decided that this website needs a complete rebuild. The website was not ugly. It's just that it hadn't progressed in years that it's been up. There was not much that we could do with it to progress it. Let me explain another way. We need to build a 10-story building, but the foundations are made out of wood. Okay, not to say that we can't build the 10, but maybe when we get to 11, 12, 30, 40, 50, things might start to get a bit shaky. So we essentially rebuilt the website. We kept the aesthetics very similar. We kept the branding, we kept the colors. Aesthetically, definitely, you could tell that it was a new website that went up. But the analogy I'd like to use is we lifted it all up, we ripped out the guts, ripped out the foundations, and replaced the wooden walls with double brick walls. In other words, the foundation of the website that had SEO in it from the ground up, the kind of plugins that we used, the kind of theme that we set up the website for, what I called SEO success. Most pages that they already had were okay. We left the URL structure very similar to the old one in that they had a page for home, of course, about, contact, terms and conditions. We altered the permalink, the page structure, and we made sure that there were dedicated page for things like dual occupancy, new homes, apartments, townhouses, custom homes, luxury homes. It could be luxury renovations and things like that. So basically any service that builder offered that also gets search volume and traffic in Google got its own page. We then planned out what I call geo pages. A geo page is essentially a page that targets a certain suburb. Sydney, Bondi, for example, Bondi builders. That means the Bondi page is its own page on the website, Bondi builder. It might even be townhouse builder Bondi. It might be apartment builder Bondi. If that search term gets traffic, even if it's only 10 visitors a month, we will generally build that page. We planned 180 of these suburb pages. All of the service pages were planned. All of the brand pages were planned. We now set up what's called baseline rank tracking, analytics, Google Search Console, and got a snapshot of the rankings before the website went up and before the SEO campaign and before the Google Ads. It's really cool to see these before and afters. On Google Maps, we have these pretty graphs that show a lot of red or a lot of green, depending on the rankings. And the way rank tracking tools work is we essentially feed it, let's say 50 or 100 keywords. A keyword might be Sydney builder. It might be Melbourne builder. And this rank tracking tool will report to us, whether it's on a daily or a weekly basis, and say, hey, your movements you've moved from position 20, you moved up to position 25. That's not good. That means we're on page 2.5 of Google. But then a week later, we're jumping to 15th position. So we're heading in the right direction. The lower the number, the better it is for us. So they're called rank trackers. And I've got these rank trackers set up for every single one of my campaigns. And this particular one, the longer we wait, the prettier the graph is, because it starts with very low amount of traffic all the way down the bottom, and it slowly but surely hockey sticks. Now, we also planned out 100 2,500 word guide-like blogs. In other words, we created a content marketing plan. We've planned out the service pages that we want to build. We've planned out another 100 blogs and guide-like pieces of content that basically prove to Google that we are trustworthy. So if we create a blog on different walls a home makes, or tips on choosing tiles, or what's the difference between a ColourBond fence and wooden fence, and you name it. All of these things we actually don't make up. We ask Google to tell us what content it wants to see on our website. We do that a number of ways. One, we have a whole bunch of tools, and we will load up a keyword. It might be home builder Sydney, or it might be home builder, and Google will present us with all of the blog ideas that it wants us to write about. And so let's say 6 months later, we've got 50 blogs, 20 blogs, 100 blogs. As long as we've got some content on the website, and Google sees that content and it reads it and it feels the content is of good quality, will send visitors to that content. If those visitors hang around and they read the content from top down, if the time on page is more than a minute or 2 minutes or 5 minutes or 10 minutes, that is really good. It means people are reacting to your website, they're spending time on the website. Google sees that as a trust signal, and your overall traffic and authority will begin to increase. So in other words, a big part of the early stages of any SEO campaign is proving ourselves trustworthy to Google, where we are delivering high quality, we're basically giving, and eventually Google will rank our main desired service page keywords, and that's where we begin to get inquiries. That's where we see a shift of inquiries that really begin to shift upwards. Probably on month 3 we see a reaction, but it's really month 7 or 8 that there's a solid increase, and then month 12 is usually where we get a solid hockey stick. Now, that's just an average. Sometimes these things come sooner, sometimes these things come much later. It all depends on how competitive the space is, how many other websites are trying to do the same thing as us, what keywords they're targeting, and how much fuel, how much money are they spending on, whether it's backlinks, whether it's video creation and growing that brand. At the end of the day, Google ranks brands. I still build lots and lots of, call them test websites, where I will pick up a domain. It might be accountant and any suburb, Bondi, and hey, sometimes 1 in 10, my website just pops up and somewhere in the top 3 where I can begin sculpting. Other times it won't pop up anywhere. But what will pop up are genuine brands that are following a general and natural flow of events of a business going up. There's videos being created, there's a social media presence, there are Google reviews, there are real faces on the website. So it's not just stock images. So when Google sees that there's a genuine brand that's happening, it will choose those sites over, let's say, one of my tests, call them a fake website if you wish. So the website was planned, all the SEO pages were planned, all the blogs were planned. We now deployed the new website and we rebuilt the Google Ads landing page very quickly. We took it off. What we were using was ClickFunnels. We've got a dedicated page, so the Google Ad is firing up, still producing leads at about $25 a lead. Now, 26 months later, let's break down the results. 806 SEO web inquiries. Now, what does that mean? That means that there is a form that's filled out on a page that's only available to Google organic results. So our Google Ads landing page is hidden away from Google organic results. So you can only land on that if you click on the ad. So it's like a funnel page. That's how we're able to dissect. Now, the true lead inquiry count is much, much higher because we just choose not to set up things like call tracking, voice recordings. We just know that a button was clicked, but I don't count those as conversions. So I prefer to do it this way. So we know that aside from those 806 SEO web inquiries, they were additional phone calls. It's roughly 50%. If not more. Some industries, there are more phone calls than there are web inquiries. Music, for example, music tutors, music schools will get double, if not triple, the phone calls that would fill out a web form. Whereas arborists, for example, it's web form. Hey, I want a quote on tree removal. You'll have more inquiries on the web form than there are phone calls. But it actually depends. There might be an arborist in Perth, there might be an arborist in Melbourne and Sydney, and the data will just absolutely change. People in Sydney are different to people in Melbourne are different to people in Perth. So it's wild that this stuff is such a big difference, but based on which city. So obviously this doesn't count word of mouth inquiries and recurring business. Now, this builder, once again, builds beautiful homes. Every month there are 1 to 2 homes that go up. So it means there's more case studies. We've now began to record and get videographers out to create those typical real estate, slow, luxury looking clips. So even more brand exposure. So word of mouth goes up from there. So timelines on this campaign. Google Ads was turned on pretty much within the first month. Don't forget, we were building the relationship with this client. So we took a while before we began to consider SEO and rebuilding the website. So in the first few months, the Google Ads were delivering the leads at $25 a lead, which is incredibly low. And once again, it was low because this particular builder had so many amazing projects and proof of work to show in the right area and on the right key terms. So we were looking for dual occupancy leads in the Bayside areas. Now, landing page had lots of projects listed with images, detailed images, and obviously the addresses as well. So that's where the $25 per lead came from. If I was to fire this campaign up now, the expectation would be, even if you give me equivalent, I obviously want to achieve that $25 again, but my expectation is going to be about $100, as I like to always under promise and hopefully over deliver. So we were running the Google ad as we built trust and relationship with the client. The Google ad began to perform. We then did analysis on the space. We planned out a new website. We built the new website, and about 6 to 7 months, the website was about 400 pages. So across those 6 months, we built all the geo pages, we built all the blogs. All of a sudden, 6, 7 months later, Google's seeing a much different website than the one that's existed for the last sort of 5 or 6 years. The website was much older than that. I just couldn't get any data past 6 years because it was on zero traffic for a long time. It wasn't showing up anywhere. So SEO began to take effect on month 7, and really month 12 is where you get that really hot looking hockey stick graph. And month 3, we saw an increase on inquiries. We just don't celebrate that early. And really month 6 or 7, those inquiries started to double each month. Now, take into account, we've seen 13 interest rate rises throughout this period as well. So it wasn't exactly happy days in the industry. However, we did not need Google Ads after the first year of the campaign. That is huge. Usually tradies in businesses like these will constantly be running Google Ads. Google Ads is a form of rental strategy where the moment we stop paying for Google Ads, we don't get those inquiries. So it means the SEO was producing enough inquiries. This builder is quite selective as well. They only want to take on a certain amount of builds at any one time. And they also want to design from the ground up. So that's their bread and butter. So they do a lot of weeding out, and they're quite selective. And we only in the history of this campaign spent, I think, just under $3,000 of Google ad budget, which is an absolutely tiny budget. And so the takeaway here is, if you are a builder, make sure every single build that you finish, or renovation, or any substantial project, make sure you capture it. You capture it in wide video. If you capture it in 4K, it can be trimmed to vertical videos. Make sure you get a photographer. This stuff costs. Throw that 2 or 3K at the end of that build. Capture the images, capture the videos. That stuff then helps sell you as a trustworthy builder on this topic. And that goes for any tradie that has something to capture. It's a bit hard to do that with pest control. It's not the prettiest of spaces, or maybe some of the plumbing or electrical spaces, but hey, if you've just installed 5 or 10 air conditioners, make sure you capture it. Make sure you capture it in a vertical form. If you're a plasterer, you know that before and after. There was before, it's a mess, old walls, middle, everything's a mess, and then an ending. If you do a project big enough, get a videographer out there, get a photographer out there, capture it, load it up onto the site, load it up onto socials. The more you do that, the less you'll need to rely on things like SEO, especially Google Ads, and the more you'll organically begin to pick up work. Because that basically, it's like word of mouth. It's like you're showing proof of work. Well, you're not being very helpful right now, Julio. Stella, there must be another delivery. I get lots of deliveries. My wife loves shopping online. You guys done? Hey, you done? Can I continue? So we've delivered a high quality website with high quality pages, with high quality blog content. We've started an SEO campaign. We've started sending high quality links. Can you come here? Come here, Stella. Tell them what you really think. Tell them what you really think, Stella. Okay, now can I continue? So Google's seen a high quality website go up. We've started sending links to that website. So that's how the traffic graph begins to hockey stick after month 12. It actually starts to happen month 6 or 7. Month 12, we start to hit 1,700 visitors a month, and it will only go up from there. That generally means more inquiries for the business. Now, we did survive, and we're still surviving 13 interest rate rises. As soon as there's an interest rate rise, that generally means inquiry counts begin to drop. But still, for the last year, we have not needed to fire up a Google ad, which is always there ready to go. We saw inquiries start moving up on month 3, but month 12 was happy days. Solid traffic graph that goes up, and inquiry counts were, I think we peaked at something like 50 inquiries a month. On average, there were 35 inquiries per month. And the takeaway of this campaign, if I look back on this and I look back on other tradie campaigns, Stella, are you done? You want to stay here? Is if you are in a visual space and whatever it is that you do, whether you're a tradie, whether you create products, if you can capture what you do and share your story and share the journey and share your work, your cost per lead and your word of mouth will increase. And that's what this builder was able to do. And from an early stage when we had beautiful imagery and beautiful media, my job was much, much easier because my job was just to drive the traffic. These campaigns go very hard when my job is to drive the traffic. I drive the traffic, but then the traffic chooses not to convert, or they convert 1 in every 10 instead of 1 in every 3. So if you're running a Google ad and you need 10 visitors for 1 inquiry, that means 9 people are choosing to go inquire with somebody else. Now, every industry is different, but the things that I know that work for a lot of our campaigns is showing proof of work, showing previous work. If you cut grass, create a case study from every lawn that you cut until you have enough case studies for anyone that lands on that page. You're like, wow, this guy really knows his stuff. He really can cut grass the best. Whatever it is that you do. It's a bit hard to do in, let's say, pest control, or if you do residential plumbing, but there's still ways, even in that space. It doesn't have to be pretty. Share your work, make sure it's on all the platforms, because right now they're the big companies, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Google, they're all fighting with each other for space, for territory, for exposure. It happened after TikTok. So any vertical reel that goes up now gets external audiences finding you. A lot of the time that external audience is within your area, because a lot of these platforms are now leaning towards geo-relevancy, where people's accounts are becoming like micro niche and geo influencer account, right? So what I'm trying to say is, when you do good work, capture the work, get it syndicated across platforms. If you can sit down and explain what the project was, one of the things we did for this builder is every single one of his builds got a dedicated page, had a large gallery, and it had quite a lot of text explaining what this build was. This build took 52 weeks. We did the town planning application, we did the design, so it made for high quality pages. The website ranked quicker. At the bottom of those project pages, we put the grid of all the other 60 or so projects that they've finished in those areas. So if someone lands on this single project and they scroll down, wow, look at all the other beautiful homes that they've built. That's when people inquire. That's where cost per lead from a Google ad is $25, which is unheard of. And that's what drove the success for this campaign. Hopefully this has been helpful. Stella, any few words? Julio! Let's see if we can get a bit of a finalization from Julio. Julio! Bulskis, come here. Don't be looking so sad. Come here. Say sorry to the peoples. Or say a few words. How many backlinks do you have? So this is Julio. They are the defenders of mankind. If the postman arrives, the postman knows about their existence. The more postmen arrive, the less I need to walk them on the beach, because they burn their calories defending the property from the postmans. Done. We're done. Go, Julio. What do you mean? Why are you so angry, Stella?